How to clean and scrape a really dirty bolt carrier group from an AR15. I just pulled this bolt carrier group out of my buddy's AR15, and as you can see, it is pretty dirty. So first we're going to take the real Avid tool and pull out the firing pin retainer. Then let the firing pin fall out. This is pretty gunked up. Alright, now we're going to press the bolt in. We're going to turn the cam pin. You can work it out like that. So the cam pin comes out. Now your bolt will slide right on out of there. It's got a lot of caked on carbon right here and in here. Breech face isn't too bad. I'm going to remove the extractor. So you can take you just squeeze down right here, and this pin will push right out. Squeeze down and pull that pin out. Now the extractor will lift right off. Alright, he's got there's like a rubber grommet here that helps the spring put a little more pressure, and that improves extraction. So be careful you don't lose that. Right there, we're going to clean the inside of this, and we might even pull the extractor, or I'm sorry, the ejector out of there and get this thing totally clean. For that, I'm going to need to tap out this roll pin right here. So we'll get that done. So first, let's clean the firing pin. This real Avid tool has a spot just for scraping the firing pin. It's got a bigger slot for scraping here, but you can see big chunks are coming off this. So then we're just going to take some Hoppe's number 9. That pretty much does the trick. Scraper helps if it's really caked on. Get that kind of wet with the solvent, and then we'll set that aside, and we'll come back and wipe that down later. Let's do the same with the cam pin. Get some solvent all over these, and then we're going to wipe them down and get them nice and shiny. Here's a real dirty part, so I'm going to just get some solvent on here to start loosening all that up. Going to wipe it down real good on the outside. We're going to do the inside next. So just get all the areas that you can reach. Yeah, I don't know if you can see in there, but that is caked pretty good in there. We're going to scrape that. So the real Avid tool has another side to it, and this side is meant to go in here all the way down to the bottom. And loosen up all that dirt that builds up in there. Yeah, look at all that coming out. Alright, next, get a good bit of the Hoppe's and get it all the way down in there. We're going to let it sit in there for a little bit, loosen up all that caked on dirt in there. If it's really dirty, like this one's super dirty, if it's really dirty, it's going to take some time to work all that out of there and scrape it out. But these two tools do a really nice job. Alright, now I'm just going to wipe each piece down. Get the cam pin. Then we're going to work on the extractor. Now this spring might come out, so just keep your eye on that spring. Just be real careful around it. Okay, especially when I get in that notch to make sure that's all clean. Okay, now this part right here, that's caked on pretty good. You're gonna see this work right here. Just stick that in here like that. Putting some pressure in this direction. Okay. See, that's going to really scrape all that off of there. Get that nice and got a lot of the big chunks off of there. So we'll get the rest with the solvent. Man, it's coming up nice. Alright, that might be good enough. Oh, nice. That came up real nice after scraping. There's still a little bit on there. Alright. Looking good, looking good. So another thing we want to do is get a pipe cleaner. Get a little Hoppe's on there. This hole. I'll go right through there. Clean that up. Pretty good. Put a dry one through there. Just want to wipe that all down, get it all nice and dry. Go in here. All right, that's looking pretty good. So if you want to remove the ejector to give it a real good cleaning, I'm just going to show you how easy this is to do. There's a pin right here that holds it in. It is spring loaded, so you need to be very careful about that. So the way I do this is I get something like a real Avid bench block. You need some way to hold it kind of up in the air so that we're going to knock that pin out, and you want to hold it up in the air so that the pin has somewhere to go as you punch it out. So place the bolt in the bench block in this orientation so that the pin you're going to knock out is straight up and down, just like that. So that's how it should look in there. So this is a 1/16 punch that I'm going to use to knock this out. I'm going to just tap on this and knock that pin out. All right, now what I've done is I pushed the pin out through. The ejector's still in there because the 1/16 punch has taken place of the pin to hold it in. So now in order to get this out, because it's spring loaded, you want to put your thumb over that, and then you remove the punch and you'll see that it is now coming out. So we're just going to pull it right out. There it is. Then the spring comes out as well. There we have it. Now we can clean that channel in there with a pipe cleaner. So I'm just going to wipe down the ejector. This one isn't too bad, so I'm just going to wipe it down with a paper towel. Do a quick wipe down of the spring. Run a pipe cleaner into the ejector opening there. Yeah. Got a little bit of crud in there, so it's good we're doing this. I could even get a little bit of solvent on the pipe cleaner if I needed to, but it's coming up pretty clean. All right, I'm just going to blow that out. All right, now let's put this back together. So I'm just going to put the spring back in. I'm going to put it in this orientation with the notch facing in. I'm going to gently push it in. So the way I kind of do this is, it's a little bit tricky. It's kind of hard to push that in with your thumb. Make sure your notch is facing up. Be careful you don't launch this across the room because we are using spring pressure. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this punch to press this in, but at the same time I'm going to set my 1/16 punch on top like that, and I'm just going to hold it upright, so I'm going to let gravity work here. So I'm going to push this in, and when it gets far enough in, the punch will fall into that notch and hold it in place. It's kind of like magic. Alright, so now that that's held in place, we want to just carefully retract the punch a little bit so that we can start the pin back in there. Put the pin back in. Just start the pin back in there with your finger. Just enough for it to stay put. I'm just going to lay this here to kind of hold it steady. And then I'm going to use this punch, holding everything kind of down. Kind of force that straight in. And as I force that in, it's pushing the punch out the other side. Now you only have to get that pushed in far enough to grab a hold of the ejector. So it's far enough in, you can tell because there's no more pressure on the punch, so I was able to pull that out. So now you just need to tap that in the rest of the way. So to do that, we're going to need this bigger punch and a hammer. Just tap that in. Okay, now there it is. It's all back in there, ready to go. Make sure it still has spring tension behind it. And there we are. Okay, so before we put the bolt carrier group back together, we're just going to put a tiny bit of lube on a couple of things. Starting with the firing pin, just like a half a drop on there. We just want to give it a coating, not even a half a drop, just a very light coating on that. The cam pin, you want maybe same thing, just a half a drop, just to help that thing get in there smoothly. And then the bolt itself, we just want to put maybe one drop on this. We just want to coat it a little bit, not a whole bunch. You don't want to put a bunch of lube on here because it's just going to attract dirt. And the pins, it might help them go in a little bit if they have just the tiniest bit. Tiny bit on the pins like that. Alright, so on the extractor there's a spring there, but this is on top of it. This kind of reinforces the spring to make it extract a little bit better, so that's what that's for. So you want to make sure that's on there. So to put this all back together, the first thing we need to do is put the extractor back on there, and that's just going to go on this way. So all you need to do is get your pin, just press down on that with your finger. You might have to wiggle it around slightly, and then your pin just goes right back in nice and easy. So this is only going to go in one way because the cam pin only goes in one way. So see which side that goes in. It won't go in this side. It goes in this side. So this is the side you want facing this way. So you want to push it in and line it up in that hole right there like that. Take your cam pin this way, just drop it in there. If you have it lined up, it'll drop right in. Then twist it 90 degrees. And once you do that, your firing pin will now go right in there. Push that all the way down. Okay, and then the last thing you want to do is put your firing pin retaining pin back in. So just push that in, and you're good to go. And before you put your bolt carrier group back into your rifle, it's a good idea. You want to put a little bit of lube on this rail and this rail and right here, because those are the spots that slide inside the bolt. Although this is this ball carrier group is made out of cobalt nitride or some fancy metal that actually makes it slide much better. So you really don't need much lube at all. And to put it back in, you will have to pull this out. Otherwise, this will be in the way of sliding it back into your upper. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button below. And in the description will be links to all the items that we used in the video today, and we'd appreciate your support.